Gentlemen, why do some men stay sharp, energetic, and vital well into their 80s, while others start feeling like their body is slowly shutting down in their 50s? Same age, same generation, but completely different experiences of life. I have been asking that question for over a decade as a practicing urologist. And one of the most consistent answers I keep finding comes down to something most men have never thought about. Something so small you could hold 1,000 of them in the palm of one hand. Right now, somewhere in your kitchen, sitting in a cabinet you probably walk past every single morning, there is a seed. It looks like nothing. But inside that tiny shell is a concentration of natural compounds so powerful that cardiovascular researchers have called it one of the most important nutritional discoveries in the last half-century. This seed has been shown in clinical studies to directly increase the production of nitric oxide, the exact molecule that tells your blood vessels to open, to relax, to let blood flow freely to every organ, every tissue, and every part of your body that is quietly begging for better circulation. I am Dr. Lila Romano, a urologist with over 10 years of clinical experience helping men reclaim their energy, protect their hearts, and restore the kind of vitality they thought was permanently behind them. And today, I am not going to give you just one seed. I am going to give you 6, each one working through a completely different biological pathway so that by the time this video is over, you will have a simple, natural, daily system for supporting your circulation from virtually every angle at once. And the last seed on this list, its mechanism of action is so unique, so specific, that most doctors have never even discussed it with their patients. So please, stay with me through this entire video, because what I am about to share could genuinely change how you feel every single day. But before we get into the seeds, I need you to understand what is actually happening inside your body right now. Because most men I see in my clinic are dealing with the same set of symptoms and blaming the wrong thing entirely. They come in feeling exhausted, mentally foggy, getting winded on walks that used to feel effortless. Their hands feel cold even on warm days. Their morning erections, which are one of the most reliable indicators of vascular health I use as a clinician, have become weaker or less frequent. And when they tell their doctor about it, they hear the same thing over and over again. Your labs look fine. It's probably just age. I had a patient I'll call Robert, 64 years old, retired teacher, solid, hardworking man who took care of himself his entire life. He came to see me frustrated and honestly a little defeated. He said, "Dr. Romano, I've had every test done. Everything comes back normal. So why do I feel like my body is running on half power?" That question stopped me, because Robert was not sick by any textbook definition, but he was not well either. And I knew exactly what was happening. His circulation was sluggish. His nitric oxide levels were almost certainly suboptimal, and his blood vessels were quietly tightening in ways that standard blood panels simply do not catch. Here is what most men do not realize. Nitric oxide is not just some obscure molecule your body produces. It is the master signal that tells your blood vessels to relax and open. When you are young, your body produces it abundantly. But after the age of 50, nitric oxide production begins to decline, steadily, silently, in ways that don't show up on a routine test, but absolutely show up in how you feel. Without enough nitric oxide, your blood vessels constrict. Circulation slows. Your energy drops. Your thinking gets foggy. Your erections weaken. And virtually every system in your body starts operating below its potential. Not dramatically, not overnight, but slowly, consistently, in ways that most men just accept as inevitable. I am here to tell you they are not inevitable. This is not a weakness. This is not destiny. This is biology. And biology can be changed. Now, I want to explain why I started looking specifically at seeds for vascular health, because this is not something you typically hear about in a standard cardiology appointment. About 8 years into my practice, I started noticing a pattern. The men who were maintaining the best vascular health into their 60s and 70s were not necessarily the ones on the most medications. They were often the ones eating in very specific ways. Dense, nutrient-rich, largely plant-based foods that were quietly doing something extraordinary for their blood vessels. I started digging into the research, and what I found was remarkable. A landmark clinical study published in the journal Hypertension found that daily ground flaxseed produced blood pressure reductions, among the largest ever observed for any dietary intervention. Not a pharmaceutical drug, not a procedure, a seed. And when I kept pulling that thread, I found 5 more seeds, each working through a completely different mechanism, each addressing a different bottleneck in the body's vascular system. That is when the picture became clear. No single seed, no single supplement, no single approach can address all the pathways your circulation depends on simultaneously. But a simple daily blend of 6 specific seeds can. Think of your vascular system like a complex engine with 6 distinct systems all running at the same time. Fuel delivery, pressure regulation, coolant protection, electrical ignition, filter maintenance, and a stress override valve. If even one of those systems is underperforming, the whole engine suffers. These 6 seeds address all 6 systems at once. And when you understand how each one works, you will never look at that kitchen cabinet the same way again. So let's start with the seed number 1, the flaxseed. Flax seeds are the richest plant source of alpha-linolenic acid on the planet. That is a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid that directly reduces inflammation in the cells lining your blood vessels and supports their ability to produce nitric oxide efficiently. But the omega-3 content is only part of the story. What truly sets flaxseed apart is its extraordinary concentration of compounds called lignans. Flax seeds contain between 75 and 800 times more lignans than any other commonly consumed plant food. Let that sink in for a moment. That is not a marginal difference. That is an entirely different category of nutritional potency. Your gut bacteria convert these lignans into bioactive compounds that have direct vessel-relaxing effects, powerful antioxidant activity that protects your nitric oxide from being destroyed by free radicals, and anti-inflammatory properties that keep your vessel lining healthy and responsive. That landmark clinical trial I mentioned earlier found that daily ground flaxseed produced blood pressure reductions among the largest ever observed for any dietary change in the scientific literature. Robert, my retired teacher, started adding 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed to his morning oatmeal every single day. Within several weeks, he came back to my office and said something that still stays with me. He said his hands felt warm for the first time in over a year. That is circulation quietly coming back to life. Now here is the critical detail that most people miss, and that completely undermines the benefit. Whole flax seeds pass through your body almost completely intact. That hard outer shell resists digestion entirely. If you are eating whole flax seeds, you are getting almost none of the benefits. You must grind them. A small, inexpensive coffee grinder works perfectly. Grind a few days' worth at a time, store them in a sealed container in the refrigerator, and use 1 to 2 tablespoons daily in smoothies, oatmeal, yogurt, or even just stirred into a glass of water. That simple step unlocks everything. But flaxseed is only one pathway, and your blood vessels need support from multiple directions. Producing more nitric oxide is powerful. But if your body cannot hold onto the nitric oxide it produces, you are fighting a losing battle. Which brings us to a seed that works through an entirely different mechanism. Seed number 2, the pumpkin seed. Pumpkin seeds are one of the richest food sources of magnesium available anywhere. And here is why that matters enormously for your vascular health. Magnesium acts as a natural calcium channel blocker. Now, if that phrase sounds familiar, it is because calcium channel blockers are an entire class of prescription blood pressure medications. Magnesium does the same thing naturally. When magnesium levels are adequate, calcium entry into the smooth muscle cells surrounding your blood vessels is properly regulated. Those cells can relax. Your vessels open. Blood flows freely. But when magnesium is deficient, and studies consistently show that the overwhelming majority of adults over 50 are deficient, calcium floods into those smooth muscle cells unchecked, causing excessive tightening and constriction of your arteries. A single quarter-cup serving of pumpkin seeds provides nearly half your daily magnesium requirement. That is a remarkable amount of vascular support from such a small handful of food. But pumpkin seeds do not stop there. They also deliver significant zinc, which is required for the proper function of an enzyme called superoxide dismutase, one of your body's most important internally produced antioxidant enzymes. This enzyme specifically neutralizes the free radicals most responsible for destroying nitric oxide in your blood vessels. So pumpkin seeds are working on two fronts simultaneously. The magnesium relaxes your vessels. The zinc protects the nitric oxide your vessels are producing. Think of it this way. Flaxseed helps your body produce more nitric oxide. Pumpkin seeds help your body keep it. That pairing alone is already more powerful than most men realize. But we are not done, because there is a third piece to this puzzle, and it comes from a seed that almost everyone throws in the trash. Seed number 3, the watermelon seed. I know, most people discard watermelon seeds without a second thought. And every time I think about that, I think about how much they are throwing away. Because these small, unassuming seeds contain something your nitric oxide production system desperately needs: an amino acid called L-citrulline. Here is how this works. L-citrulline is a direct precursor to L-arginine. And L-arginine is the raw material your body uses to manufacture nitric oxide through an enzyme called nitric oxide synthase. When you eat watermelon seeds, your kidneys convert the citrulline into arginine, and that arginine feeds directly into your nitric oxide production pathway. Now here is the part that genuinely surprises most people. L-citrulline is actually more effective at raising blood arginine levels than taking L-arginine supplements directly. This seems counterintuitive, but the explanation is straightforward. When you consume arginine directly, a significant portion of it is broken down by enzymes in your gut and liver before it ever reaches your bloodstream. Citrulline completely bypasses this degradation process, resulting in higher and more sustained arginine levels exactly where your body needs them most. A clinical study published in the journal Urology found that men with mild erectile dysfunction who supplemented with L-citrulline experienced significant improvements in erection hardness scores compared to placebo. Not a dramatic difference, but a measurable, real, meaningful one. And this is coming from a nutrient found in a seed that most men are literally throwing away. You can eat watermelon seeds roasted as a snack, add them to trail mixes, or grind them into smoothies. They have a mild, nutty flavor that works well in almost anything. So now your body is producing nitric oxide through flaxseed, protecting it through pumpkin seeds, and fueling the raw production pathway through watermelon seeds. But here is the reality. Free radicals are relentless. They are constantly attacking your vascular system from the inside. And you need a seed that does not just fight back, but trains your body to fight back on its own. Seed number 4, the sesame seed. Sesame seeds contain a unique compound called sesamin, and what sesamin does is genuinely different from everything we have discussed so far. Most antioxidants work by directly neutralizing free radicals. They sacrifice themselves to protect your cells. Sesamin does something more sophisticated. It actually upregulates your body's own internal antioxidant defense systems, including superoxide dismutase and catalase, the same enzymes your body produces naturally to protect your vessels. Instead of just sending in outside reinforcements, sesamin trains your body to build a stronger army of its own. It also significantly reduces the oxidation of LDL cholesterol particles. And I want to be specific about this because it matters. It is not just LDL cholesterol that damages your blood vessels. It is oxidized LDL, the particles that have been chemically altered by free radicals, that trigger inflammation and promote the buildup that narrows your arteries over time. Sesamin directly reduces that oxidation process, keeping your vessel walls cleaner and more open. And then there is one more remarkable property that I find particularly exciting. Research has demonstrated that sesamin enhances the bioavailability of vitamin E in your body by slowing down the enzymes that normally break vitamin E down. It essentially extends the life of vitamin E inside your system. And that matters enormously because vitamin E is one of the most critical antioxidants protecting the membranes of your blood vessel cells. Tahini, which is simply ground sesame seeds, is an excellent way to incorporate larger amounts into your daily diet easily. A tablespoon of tahini stirred into a smoothie or spread on food gives you a generous dose of sesamin without any effort. And that vitamin E connection leads us perfectly to the next seed, because if sesame extends vitamin E's protective effect, seed number 5 is what supplies it. Seed number 5, the sunflower seed. A single quarter-cup serving of sunflower seeds provides over 80% of your daily vitamin E requirement. Let me put that in clinical context for you. Vitamin E is the primary fat-soluble antioxidant protecting the membranes of the endothelial cells that line your blood vessels. These endothelial cells are not passive bystanders. They are the very cells responsible for producing nitric oxide and regulating blood flow throughout your entire vascular system. When their membranes are damaged by oxidative stress, which happens constantly in men over 50, nitric oxide production drops, vessel flexibility decreases, and circulation suffers at the cellular level. Vitamin E stands guard over those membranes, protecting them from exactly that kind of damage. Now here is where the synergy between sesame seeds and sunflower seeds becomes so powerful. The sesamin in sesame seeds slows down the enzymes that break vitamin E down inside your body, and the sunflower seeds supply the vitamin E itself. Together, they deliver a sustained, amplified level of antioxidant protection to your vessel membranes that neither seed could achieve alone. Sunflower seeds also deliver selenium, an essential mineral required for producing glutathione peroxidase, yet another critical enzyme in your body's internal antioxidant network. They are affordable. They are available at virtually every grocery store in the country. And they are quietly extraordinary. A small handful of sunflower seeds added to your daily blend is one of the simplest, highest return nutritional decisions a man over 50 can make. Now I have saved the most surprising seed for last. I promised you at the beginning that one of these seeds has a mechanism of action so unique that most doctors have never discussed it. This is the one. Seed number 6, the celery seed. When most people hear celery, they think of the vegetable. A crunchy snack. Diet food. Nothing remarkable. But celery seeds are something entirely different. They contain a compound called 3N-butylphthalide, or 3NB for short. And what this compound does is unlike anything produced by the other 5 seeds we have discussed. It does not boost nitric oxide production. It does not protect it from free radicals. It does not relax smooth muscle through magnesium. It does something more targeted and frankly more important for many men over 50 than any of those things. It specifically counteracts the blood vessel tightening that occurs when stress hormones tell your vessels to constrict. Here is why this matters so much. One of the most common and most overlooked reasons for poor circulation in men over 50 is the chronic overactivation of the stress response system. Everyday stress, work pressure, financial worry, poor sleep, the constant low-level tension that modern life creates keeps stress hormones elevated day after day. And one of the primary effects of those stress hormones is vasoconstriction. Your vessels tighten. Your blood pressure rises. And even if you are doing everything else right, even if you are producing adequate nitric oxide and protecting it beautifully, the stress signals can override all of that and keep your vessels constricted anyway. I have seen this pattern in my clinic more times than I can count. Men who eat well, exercise, take their supplements, and still cannot understand why their circulation and their performance are not improving. In many cases, chronic stress is the hidden override switch that nobody is addressing. 3NV in celery seeds helps tip that balance back in favor of openness and flow by specifically neutralizing the stress-driven constriction signals. Clinical research has demonstrated measurable improvements in blood pressure and blood flow markers with celery seed use. You can incorporate celery seeds as a spice in soups, stews, and sauces. You can brew them as a tea, or you can take them as a concentrated extract. However you use them, the key is consistency. Because stress is not a one-time event. It is a daily reality. And celery seed addresses it daily. Now let me bring all of this together into something you can actually use starting tomorrow morning. Because knowing about these seeds means nothing if you do not know exactly how to use them. Here is the practical protocol I recommend to my patients, refined over years of clinical practice. I call it the Master Vascular Blend. And it is simpler than you might think. Here is exactly what you need. 1 tablespoon of freshly ground flaxseed. 1 tablespoon of raw pumpkin seeds, 1 teaspoon of roasted watermelon seeds, 1 teaspoon of sesame seeds, or 1 tablespoon of tahini if you prefer, 1 tablespoon of sunflower seeds, and 1/4 teaspoon of ground celery seed. That is your daily blend. The preparation matters as much as the ingredients. For your flaxseed, grind it fresh using a small coffee grinder. Pre-ground flaxseed oxidizes quickly, losing much of its potency. Grind 2 to 3 days worth at a time and store it in a sealed glass container in the refrigerator. For the remaining seeds, mix them all together in a larger sealed glass jar and store that in the refrigerator as well. A properly sealed and refrigerated batch stays fresh for up to 2 weeks, so you can prepare it on Sunday and have it ready all week. The ideal time to take this blend is in the morning with breakfast. This is when your cardiovascular system is ramping up for the day, and feeding it the right nutrients early means those compounds are circulating in your blood during your peak activity hours. There are 3 easy ways to incorporate it. First, stir the entire blend into a bowl of oatmeal or yogurt. The seeds add texture and a mild nutty flavor that actually makes it more enjoyable. Second, add everything to a morning smoothie. The blend disappears completely and you will not taste the individual seeds at all. Third, sprinkle the blend over eggs, a salad, or any breakfast dish you already enjoy. When you are sourcing these seeds, choose organic whenever possible, particularly for flaxseed, pumpkin seeds, and sunflower seeds. Look for raw or cold-pressed options rather than heavily processed or salted varieties. You can find all 6 seeds at health food stores, Whole Foods, or online through retailers like Amazon. The cost is genuinely minimal. We are talking a few dollars a week for comprehensive daily vascular support. One final note on this protocol. This blend works cumulatively. Each day you take it, the compounds build upon the work of the previous day, gradually shifting your body's chemistry in a favorable direction. Do not expect to feel dramatically different after 3 days. Expect to feel meaningfully different after 30. That distinction matters, and I want you to understand it before you begin so that you stick with it long enough to experience the real results. Now I need to take a few minutes to talk about safety. Because I am a doctor first, and giving you powerful nutritional information without also giving you the necessary precautions would be irresponsible. So please listen to this section carefully. The first and most common mistake I see is men using whole flax seeds instead of ground. I have already mentioned this, but I want to say it again because it undermines everything. Whole flax seeds pass through your digestive system almost completely undigested. You get virtually zero benefit. Grind them. Every single time. The second mistake is starting at full dose immediately. If you are not accustomed to high-fiber seeds in your diet, jumping straight to the full daily blend can cause digestive discomfort, bloating, or loose stools. Start with half the recommended amounts for the first week and build up gradually. Your gut needs time to adjust, and adjusting slowly means you will not give up in the first few days. Now for the medical warnings. Flaxseed and celery seed both have mild blood-thinning properties. If you are currently taking any anticoagulant medications, including warfarin, aspirin therapy, or any prescription blood thinner, you need to speak with your prescribing physician before adding this blend to your daily routine. This is not optional. This is important. Additionally, pumpkin seeds are a rich source of magnesium, and while that is beneficial for most men, anyone with chronic kidney disease needs to be careful with high magnesium intake because compromised kidneys may not excrete it efficiently. If you have any kidney condition, please consult your doctor before starting. And finally, I want to say this clearly. This blend is a powerful nutritional support strategy. It is not a replacement for medical care. If you are experiencing severe erectile dysfunction, significant cardiovascular symptoms, persistent fatigue that does not respond to lifestyle changes, or any symptoms that concern you, please see a urologist or cardiologist for a proper evaluation. I am begging you, do not use natural remedies as a reason to avoid the doctor. Use them as something you do alongside proper medical care. That combination, clinical oversight plus nutritional excellence, is where the real results live. So, gentlemen, here is my challenge to you. Try this blend every single morning for the next 30 days. That is all I am asking. 30 days. Consistent. every morning. Pair it with decent sleep, a little daily movement, and a conscious effort to manage your stress. Give your body a full month of genuine support, and I promise you, you will feel the difference. Your body at 60, at 70, at 80, it has not given up on you. It is still producing nitric oxide, still pumping, still fighting every single day to deliver oxygen and nourishment to every cell. It just needs a little more support from your kitchen than it used to. And that support is sitting right there in seeds so small you could hold 1,000 of them in your palm, but powerful enough to change how your blood flows, how your energy feels, and how you show up for the life you have built. You are not too old for better circulation. You are not too far gone for more energy. And you are absolutely not done. If this video gave you something valuable today, please hit that subscribe button so you do not miss what is coming next. Share this with a man in your life who needs to hear it. And drop a comment below telling me which of these 6 seeds surprised you the most. I read every single one. This is Dr. Lila Romano, and I will see you in the next video.